making a savoury tart. This is a combination of zucchini, onion and speck. Now what I'm doing here is just rolling out some short crust pastry. In my short crust recipe, I have a combination of plain flour, cold butter, egg yolks and some water. Now if you want the recipe for this, I've got plenty of recipes on the Everyday Gourmet website. Or if you do want to cheat, you can absolutely buy a good quality store-bought short crust pastry. Now once it's rolled out, you do want to roll it out to about 3 millimeters thick, and you do want to work quite fast because pastry melts quite easily. So in order for it to be pliable, you do want to work when it's still a little bit cold. I'm now just going to sprinkle a little bit of flour onto a rolling pin, and this will just ensure that the pastry doesn't stick. And then I'm going to roll it onto the rolling pin. Here is a 23 centimetre flan tin, and you can see that it's got a loose base. I like the loose base ones because it just makes it so much easier to detach or demould the tart at the end. Carefully lift the pastry, place it into the tin, and you can see that fits perfectly with a little bit overhanging. So once that's in, just use your fingers to really get it into the size there so there's no air bubbles whatsoever. Now we can press down with our fingers and we're just pretty much cutting off that excess pastry. With a fork, I'm just going to pierce the base just so none of those air bubbles rise when it's cooking. Now get a piece of baking paper and scrunch it up. And this is just going to make it a lot easier to place into the pastry. Now for some rice, or you could use some pastry weights. This is just going to hold everything in place and ensure that the pastry down the bottom stays nice and flat. And ideally you want to place this back in the fridge for about 30 minutes. I'm going to bake this straight away. So this is going to take about 15 minutes in the oven at 180 degrees. Then I'm going to remove the rice and the baking paper and cook it for a further 10 minutes just so it's lightly golden brown. So in it goes for the first stage of cooking. While the pastry is cooking, we can get on to the filling. I've got a large pan here. I'm putting that on a medium to high heat. Only half an onion for this recipe, and I'm just going to finely slice it. You can dice it if you like, but I like this tart to have a little bit of texture through it. So slicing it, and just a little bit of extra virgin olive oil into the pan. I don't want to add too much oil because I am going to add speck. So we'll start by giving it a toss, add a little bit of salt, and they can get a head start while I prepare the speck. You need about 200 grams to 250 grams of speck. I like speck because it's really, really meaty. I'm also going to take the skin off. We don't want that at all. And place that in the bin. And then I'm going to cut this into lardons, which means they're about 1 centimetre by 3 centimetre matchsticks. I like the speck to have a little bit of texture, so we're looking for something a little bit like that. Don't forget it will shrink once it's cooked. Now I want to flavour this with a herb that goes really nicely with the speck and the onions and the zucchini, and that is our good old friend thyme. I'm going to add a crack of pepper. Now I need 2 zucchini for this, 2 medium to small zucchini, and I'm going to cut them into rounds, thin rounds, just like this. The zucchini goes in last because it doesn't take that long to cook, and don't forget it's going in the oven, so it's going to be cooking again. So you don't want to get them all mushy, we still want them to be slightly crunchy. All right, we'll toss all of that goodness together. It's looking fantastic. While that's cooking, we can get onto the custard. Now, it's not that typical custard that's sweet. This is a savoury custard, and I'm using a very simple combination of 4 eggs. So this will be the base of it, and I'm going to just break my eggs straight into a jar. This will just make it so much easier to pour into our tart shell at the end. I like to use eggs and only cream in this because the cream is going to make this tart really silky and very rich. So about 300 millilitres of thickened cream, and then we'll combine that. Looking good. See how nice and thick that is? It's also going to help set this tart. Also a good pinch of salt and some cracked pepper. And one of my favourite spices, that would have to be some nutmeg. One last mix. Now all our elements are ready to go. All we need to do is wait for the tart shell to finish cooking and the zucchini to finish cooking too. Now the pastry has just come out of the oven and it's golden brown, so the second cook is done. And now we can start filling it. This has cooled down nicely, so we'll add the speck, the onions, and all of that zucchini. It's the perfect amount. And we don't want to overfill it because we still want to make sure that there's enough room for our lovely creamy custard. Now I'm going to place this in the oven and I'm going to bring my cream mixture over here. This is a great little trick to do so you don't have any spills. So we'll bring our jug over here. Ensure that you don't overfill it because it's eggs and cream, so it will rise a little bit. Perfect. Now I'm going to cook this for about 20 to 25 minutes or until it's golden brown and that creamy custard has set. I'm going to slice straight into this because I really want to show you the inside. Straight down there. Oh, that set perfectly. And then I'm going to lift that. And that is spectacular. See how perfect the pastry is? You can see all of the chunky inside, but it's almost been glued by that cream mixture. You know, I love the thickness of this. I don't like those really thick flans. It's almost too eggy. This is a delicate type of tart. It's a savoury tart. It's fantastic for lunch or, if you like, for a really light dinner.